Say, Sylvester, yes, Sonic? Ready for some more Mario Kart action today? Absolutely, yes. After all, we did manage to play for our own time for playing through Mario Kart Tour on our own time, while simply able to actually go through Paris Tour recently. Yeah, exactly, for surely. Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm Sylvester the Cat here. We are back for support yet again for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Mario Kart 8 / Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Nintendo Wii U / Nintendo Switch. So, last time we have managed to able to once again dominate it throughout the forms of Lightning Cup, despite with some trial and error when it comes to the forms of Grumble Volcano for sure. But apart from those side of things though, we once again managed to able to done a flawless run on that particular cup. So today for this episode, and that is the forms of the fact that we're about to get things started with the actual DLC cups. So to kick things off, speaking of which, is the fact that we're going to be hit on to the Egg Cup, which I say because this is actually the DLC cup of all things, most notably because back in 2014, well, because of the fact that back then on the Wii U, they did manage to offer us the actual paid DLC for it. In addition with paying the actual DLC for it for DLC pack number 1 back in 2014, although we'll explain more on that later, because today for the next character choice, we figure we might actually play as Bowser Jr., because after all, he was not playable on the Wii U version sadly though, but luckily for the Switch owners, they did at least manage to able to add in Bowser Jr. to the roster, which is good. So even then though, although it's kind of a shame that Diddy Kong was not in this game sadly though, but even then though, we'll have to leave it I suppose. So, let's go for this combination right here, and here we go, onto the Egg Cup. So, for the majority of some DLC cups, most notably with only 3 of them until later on, but at the moment right now, for the Egg Cup anyway, we've only got about 1 retro track returning, as well as the forms of only 3 brand new ones. So, not much anything else to be said and done. So even then, let's get this thing to it with the actual cup itself. So here we go with the first track in that cup, which is the forms of the Nintendo GameCube track from Mario Kart Double Dash, which appears to be by the forms of Yoshi Circuit, which I think this is actually the 3rd time that particular track makes its appearance, including the 4th time actually, until when Mario Kart Tour came around, and that particular track usually makes a comeback for the 3rd time. So this is generally the 2nd time that that particular track will make its appearance. That's, you know how it goes. Basically, for Yoshi Circuit, it first originally made its appearance ever since, of course, in Mario Kart Double Dash, and is originally from Star Cup on the 3rd track, and then they'll bring back that track again until Mario Kart DS came around, until the forms of 2005, and placed that as in the last track in the whole entire game in Mario Kart DS in the Lightning Cup. And now, in the forms of Mario Kart 8 / Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, is now being placed as in the Egg Cup on the very first track in that particular cup. And then until when we get to the point until in 2019, even though despite the fact that we're still not going to be doing our Let's Play of Mario Kart Tour just because of how much stuff we need to go by. And as a result of that kinds of stuff though, is the fact that Yoshi Circuit will make its return for the 3rd time in the forms of any kind of cups anywhere though. It doesn't really matter specifically though, and right off the bat though, we actually get out right there, straight off the bat. So yeah, today's day is the forms of the 9th of November, in this case in 2019, and ironically enough though, is the exact same number day as the forms of today's episode, including the forms of tomorrow's video, just because of the fact that we'll tackle through the forms of the Triforce Cup until, let's just say, during tomorrow. So even then, oh yeah, we got ourselves the Piranha Plant, item right there, but we'll show that off in just a moment. Even then, we can show that off right now. And even then, that allows you to able to actually let the Piranha Plant allow you to do some dash maneuvering. So, you can also use the Piranha Plant to able to once again perform a shortcut, as you can see right there. And the obvious major differences between the forms of Mario Kart Double Dash variation, as well as the forms of the Mario Kart DS version of that specific track, is of course the visuals, of course. As well as from that, they did at least manage to able to add in a trick ramp by simply able to actually go on to, well, specifically this section here, because as you can see on this little ramp, that actually represents the actual trick ramp. So yeah, that's as far as we can able to know some of the differences on that particular version of this track though, compared to the forms of how it does it in these two versions from the past. From, you know, back on the Nintendo GameCube, all the way to the Nintendo DS, and, you know, for the Wii U / Nintendo Switch, and then eventually in the iPhone or smartphone devices that it just managed to make that track return for, you know, for the third time. Which, as far as I've noticed, the only major difference on that version is that they obviously now add in the actual Piranha Plant cardboard cutout, so that usually managed to able to block the actual shortcuts, unless if you know, trying to able to get used to with the controls and all that stuff. So, anyway, so now we move on to the brand new track introduced in Mario Kart 8 / Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. In this particular DLC, we have Excitebike Arena. Now, this is pretty cool though, because it reminds you of playing through Excitebike, except this time it's now full in 3D, which is pretty cool, I should say. And also because, as you can see on the actual map layout, it plays almost exactly similar to the forms of Baby Park from Mario Kart Double Dash as well as Mario Kart DS, although the biggest difference is here is that it has a lot more variety in them, like, you know, some trick ramps as well as the forms of those little, you know, these muds that you need to able to avoid from, and all kinds of stuff you might as well able to expect. And of course, if you're able to actually get onto the grass or the mud, it will slow you down, so even then knows how to avoid those. Just like how he did if you remember playing through Excitebike on the NES. So, because if you probably noticed by the forms of that particular game called Excitebike, that we did manage to play that game before in our channel, due to the forms of, you know, the NES remakes Let's Play back in 2018. So if you guys want to check that out, if you like, it will be, but that again, because I think most of the fans out there seem to really enjoy our Let's Play of Mario Kart 8 / Mario Kart 8 Deluxe kind of thing about it, because, well, obviously because of how the fact that they always intend to enjoy most of our Let's Plays of Mario Kart, basically. So even then, in fact, we'll promise you guys we're able to do a retro Mario Kart Let's Plays here and there as well, from, you know, Super Nintendo all the way up to the Nintendo GameCube. So, we'll promise you guys we will definitely gonna do those. So, yeah, that's the actual main point about this. So, and I think the actual layout of, depends on what site you're in, might actually differs a little bit, or something like that, or maybe they just act out like, sort of feels like, sort of identical or different. I don't know, it's been such a long while since we actually managed to play this track, basically, so, and for what it's worth though, it is a really, really cool track though, but even then, yeah, that's as far as I can say about it, and of course it got the actual remakes of that particular Excitebike theme, which as far as you can tell for that particular music standpoint. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff though, and especially noticeable how the fact that, you know, we can now able to experience Excitebike for the first time in 3D. Well, technically that was Excitebike World Challenge. Of course, that particular game will no longer be purchasable now because of, you know, the Wii Shop channel is now fully closed. So kind of sucks though, but even then though, it's important to remember that particular title. Alright, so next track, as you can see right there, we're going to be exploring through China, basically, in Dragon Driftway. Now, this track is very cool looking, because it kind of reminds me of that particular film called, let's just say both Mulan and as well as the films of Kung Fu Panda series, or to be more accurate, Kung Fu Panda trilogy, because even then, that every time whenever I master play that particular racetrack, as you can tell, it always reminds me of like I was watching Mulan as well as Kung Fu Panda trilogy, but obviously the actual main point about it is just, you know, we're just simply just racing. So, and of course the actual the track itself is brand new, so even then though we can expect it by this point. Up until whenever we get to the fourth and the final track, and I think that can be also the same applies for the majority of the actual DLC cups to begin with, which whenever we get to the Triforce Cup as well as the films of the next weekend, we can able to actually finish up with the final two cups in the forms of specifically you know, the entire Grand Prix mode, and someone is actually playing A Hat in Time, which usually I've heard about that particular game and it looks very interesting. And recently, during the likes of yesterday, in addition with Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, just recently released in the UK as a physical form as well. Along the same lines though is the fact that in a Hat in Time game on the physical form in the UK also came out the exact same day as well. So I might be curious to able to actually decide to pick that game up. Well, excuse me, I got something in my throat there again, I do apologize for that. Yeah, it's getting ridiculous for this point though, because even then we were expecting to able to actually clear our throats out, just in case we could able to actually discuss on things properly. So, not that great though. So anyways, let's go ahead and just hang on to this bomb real quickly. And just in case if we could able to actually potentially try to able to do a nice flawless run through again, especially because of the fact that, although despite the fact that we're getting pretty much owned by any single blue shells basically, I think it always does that for every single term. But anyway, that digress. Yeah, let's talk about some more details specifically with the forms of, the most recent DLC fighter from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has recently released recently. And for I've tested him out, especially noticeable with this brand new stage, they actually include alongside with Terry, which usually calls it King of Fighters Stadium. And I will say, it is pretty cool looking, and it's also very different from the likes of any other Super Smash Bros. Stages that we had since, from the past. But we'll mention more on that until, let's just say, during tomorrow, because now we have the final track in this particular cup, which appears to be Mute City from the F-Zero series. And it's also pretty cool is the fact that every time you begin a race in that particular course, it doesn't matter if it's online or if it's especially noticeable in local multiplayer. Well, it also gets the actual familiar starting race music from the likes of the F-Zero games, which is pretty cool and awesome at the same time. But even then, I do apologize with the forms of my cookie throat again. But hopefully by that time tomorrow, then we should able to still make ourselves a bit better. So. And yeah, what's cool about this is the fact that not only does this game manage to able to actually get ourselves a remastered tracks from the likes of the previous Mario Kart games, but it's also they did manage to bring us into the forms of, let's just say, other Nintendo tracks. Such as, as I mentioned this before, this track was obviously based off from the F-Zero games basically, which usually takes place in Mute City. And what's cool about this is the fact that, we get ourselves a very cool, awesome remix of that particular F-Zero Mute City music, which is really awesome to say the least. And also because of the fact that every time you get to lap 2, it doesn't really matter what tracks you're in. Well, specifically this track alongside with the true final track in the whole entire Mario Kart 8 game, unless if you really want to play the Deluxe version where you can simply unlock this from the get-go. Because again, if you purchase this on the Wii U, well, you do need to pay for about extra cash in order to actually play the actual DLC tracks to begin with. Well, luckily, again, if you purchase this on the Nintendo Switch, well, everything else is unlocked from the start. The only exception is, of course, kart customization parts, as well as the forms of Gold Mario, which I think we'll point things out whenever we're able to actually show off Golden Mario, and during at some point in the future, but not now though, because, we're playing as Bowser Jr. for this point today. So, anyway, aside from everything else though, with the forms of, oh snap, okay, good. Yeah, if you drive onto this little, boost pads, as you can see right there, well, not so much for those ones, but with the forms of the, purpley and bluish kind of, things, as you can see on the ceiling, or in this case, on the top of the actual, the track itself, you can able to actually collect, coins with it though, which actually feels like a reference to the forms of, boost regenerating from the forms of the previous F-Zero games, which, come on Nintendo, bring F-Zero back to life. I mean, we have not seen the new F-Zero game in the series ever since, I would say, since in 2004 perhaps, in the forms of GP Legend, and that's pretty much it. So, come on Nintendo, announce the new F-Zero game for God's sakes for the Nintendo Switch. I mean, that way, it will make it really, really awesome to able to bring back the series again. But I digress. So, the award ceremony in the Egg Cup obviously takes place in Dragon Driftway, just because of the fact that we actually did this pretty darn well. Well, apart from the actual Blue Shell's ownage, of course. So once again, we managed to able to do a flawless run through of that specific cup, as you can see right there. But even then, though, that yet again we've dominated, basically. So yeah, I guess that was 9 cups down, and I believe we've only got about 3 more cups to go. So naturally speaking, we're now on to the 3rd quarter of the actual Grand Prix mode itself now. And then, yeah, as you can see, every time you're able to win 1st place in the forms of the Grand Prix DLC Cups, as you can see, that we get ourselves a very simple, basic trophy design. Which is a shame, though, but at least unlike the forms of other trophies, if you can tell, it does manage to have ourselves a very unique design with all these, you know, trophies and all that stuff. So, yeah, I guess we'll end things off here. So join us tomorrow for more of Let's Play of Mario Kart 8 / Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Is that we're going to be hit on to the forms of the 10th Cup in this game, which is none other than the Triforce Cup. So see you guys tomorrow for that. Yeah, later fellas. Catch you later.